got it. We got it.
Welcome, everyone. Let's try that again. Welcome, everybody, to our general board meeting tonight, and in combination with our truth and taxation hearing. If you're interested in offering some public comment related to the proposed tax hikes tonight, will you please make sure that your name gets on the list? I know that Lane's announced a couple times, and there's probably some signed up, but if you would like to make comment, please put your name down on there, if you would, please. Some of you have signed up online, and I think we already have that list. Tonight we're going to have our truth and taxation portion of this meeting, and we'll also have a public comment on our general board meeting portion of that, and they will be two separate parts of this meeting. So if you've signed up, we're glad you did, and eager to hear your comments. Remember the guidelines, the 3-minute time limit, and be courteous with that if you would, please. Let's begin tonight's meeting with Assistant Superintendent Clyde Moore and Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Clyde. Board, you've had an opportunity to look through the consent calendar for tonight and the items that are on there, and we've talked about a few of them in our study meeting. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Can I make a comment really fast? Sorry.
Please.
I hate interjecting. One of the things on the consent calendar is approval of the district early learning plan for next year. And I just wanted to say I was able to attend that meeting in June led by Christy Wagner, and she invited several of our elementary administrators and our instructional coaches, and I just wanted to thank them for doing such a good job on putting together that plan for the state. I was impressed with all of the educators that were there and the time and the commitment that they put in to setting a good plan for our K through 3, our language arts, and our math goals. And so I just wanted to put that out and say thank you for that.
Wonderful, thanks. Thanks. So we had a first by Doug, the second. Oh, did you have a comment, or you approved the first, second?
He made the motion.
Jan? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to that? Any further discussion? Wonderful, thanks. Let's, we got that out of the way up front. Let's now move into the truth and taxation hearing portion of the meeting. We'll begin this part with a presentation by our district school administrator, Dr. Robert Peterson. Following Dr. Peterson's presentation, we will move into the public comment I'm already tongue-tied here. Move into the public comment portion of our meeting, where any of you who have signed up can go ahead and give your comments. This is something that's been in the works for months, and we've received some information from different parts of the district, and we appreciate that. So, Pam, do you have that list?
Got it right here.
Oh, that's what they
Got
just
it.
brought
Yep.
up. Wonderful. Okay. I didn't see that sneak in. Yeah. Robert, go ahead, please.
We've got Casey and Dave and Clyde that are passing out
my presentation so everyone can have a hard copy. And also you can follow along. We have it posted on all the screens. And so you're able to follow along. Plus you have a hard copy you could write notes on if you choose, that kind of thing.
This one. People still coming. He's gonna add a couple more names. Yeah, I know. That wasn't good. It shows it. Yep, yep. The other one is.
We good? I'll get started. Okay, board. You have the hard copy in front of you too, plus the screens. As alluded to by President Widdowson, tonight's proposal has been discussed for over 2 years in public board study sessions, board committees, and in one-on-one meetings with board members and patrons. There's a lot of work going behind this that was open to the public and has been studied by many eyes for some time. 2 years ago, the Weber School Board unanimously approved going to voters for a bond election to build 3 new schools and 1 school rebuild. This was a unanimous vote by the school board. Board approval for the bond election was based on the best estimates from MHTN Architects and Hogan Construction. Just as a little side note, MHTN Architects are the dominant school architects in the state. They're the most experienced. And Hogan is a dominant construction company. And between the two of them, they gave their best estimates for the costs of our construction. And with that, we went to the voters for their approval. Also, as part of that bond campaign, voters were informed that the financing of these projects would not result in a tax rate increase. The construction of these projects, the rate would stay the same. By a significant majority, voters approved the construction of 4 schools. It passed with over a 60% majority, the highest pass rate Weber County's ever had, and it was the highest pass rate in the state on that voting cycle. With this approval, every registered voter was informed in writing with the mailing that went to every household with a registered voter that there would be an adjustment in the tax rate to operate the 3 new buildings when it came time to hire. Robust student growth continues on the district's west side. The west side student growth since the bond election was approved is almost at 3.5%. That's very healthy growth, and it is just going to continue to grow as the west side fills up. In future decades, grateful patrons will look to this board as having a lot of foresight in their decisions to move forward. Now, here's the summary of the proposal. We propose to adjust the capital levy to issue revenue bonds to complete Roosevelt Elementary. It is the 4th of these 3 projects, or the 4th of these 4 projects. Correspondingly, we're going to cut a tax rate, the debt service levy, so that is revenue neutral. And then the promised operation costs of the new schools sits at about $6 million, and we're going to adjust a tax rate for that. We also have a one-time judgment levy that I'll explain later. Let's address the capital levy first. So you can flip your page. Number 1, we're proposing a raise in the capital levy to complete the promised projects. As I said earlier, we have a Westfield High School that's new on the west side, Mountain View Junior High on the west side, and West Haven. This is where all the student growth is, elementary school in West Haven. These 3 new schools are well under construction. The walls are up. They are set to open in less than a year, in August of next year. And the rebuild of Washington Elementary in Washington Terrace, or Roosevelt Elementary in Washington Terrace, is poised and ready to start. We were slammed with unexpected inflation costs. Since the bond election in 2021, inflation has hit 40-year highs. Especially hard hit was the construction industry. General construction inflation averaged over 56%. We're not the only district that was hit with these type of unexpected increases in construction costs. Canyons has 2 high schools that they proposed. Hillcrest and Brighton, they're rebuilds, and they are both well over 36%. One's at 36%, one's at 40% increase. Tooele, they're brand new Deseret Peak High School. Their initial cost was $100 million, and it's coming in at $156 million, or a 56% increase. Granite had a bond election where voters approved $238 million in various projects, and their final costs are coming in at $510 million, a 114% increase. Weber had $279 million, and once again, these were projected with the help of MHTN Architects and Hogan, and the estimated final costs are now sitting at $338 million. This is a 21% increase. This 21% increase is low compared to the expected increases of the other districts. It's a tribute to our valiant and hardworking maintenance crew and our Director of Maintenance and Facilities, Larry Hadley. Weber School District's impact. The original cost of the bond right there is $279 million. Now we're estimating at $338, a 21% increase. We're short $59 million. The local funds and bond premium, we're allowed to collect bond premium, comes to $7.8 million. We're now $51,420,000 short. And so we are poised and ready to raise a capital levy and then issue lease revenue bonds or revenue bonds to cover that shortfall. The annual interest and payment will be $4.2 million over a 21-year period. This vote is a simple black and white. With this proposed tax rate adjustment, Roosevelt Elementary will be completed and promises to voters will be kept. Without this proposed tax rate adjustment, Roosevelt Elementary will be dropped from the list of projects. It's as simple as that. Okay, going to the second thing. To help offset this increase, we are decreasing taxes. We propose to reduce the debt service levy by $4.2 million. In November 21, as I stated earlier, voters were informed the issuance of $279 million would not result in a tax rate increase. And we propose to raise the capital levy, to issue revenue bonds, and to lower the debt service levy to continue to pay the existing debt that we have over several series of bonds. Once again, with or without, with this proposed tax rate adjustment, promises to voters will be kept. No rate increase pertaining to the construction of new schools. Without this proposed tax rate adjustment, any additional debt service revenue will be used to pay off existing bonds earlier. We can accelerate the payoff schedules, and the tax rate will stay the same. The tax rate won't be decreased. Okay, the real purpose for this tax rate increase and this truth in taxation is number 3, the staffing and operation costs of the new schools. As part of the 2021 bond election, every registered voter was informed that the operation costs of new schools would be funded through a tax rate adjustment. This was sent out to every household through a voter information pamphlet. We actually dredged up the 2-year-old voter information pamphlets from, and there's copies of them on the desk or the table out there. Also, we had pushing 60 presentations during the bond campaign, and I attended almost all of them. And at every presentation, the public and voters were informed that after the schools were built, we'd have to staff them. You can't have a school operate without operation costs. Also, this is what we've done with every bond election. This is my 5th bond election since being hired in 2001, and we've done this to staff the schools every time. So what does staffing mean? Operation and staffing costs, this is 3B, include the following. Utilities, you got to heat the building. Office staff, school admin, you need principals, custodian, teaching aides, media specialists, nurses, counselors, athletic directors, mental health specialists, school techs, and maintenance positions. The school resource officers are also needed, we just talked about in our study session, to strengthen student safety, but additional teacher costs are not needed. Teachers are the heart and soul of a school, but they follow the student-teacher ratio. And so they'll be moved from other locations and keep the student-teacher ratio the same. So there's the operation cost summary. You can see that Westfield High is the most expensive, it's the largest, then Mountain View, then New Elementary, and then we have support positions around the district that include nurses, maintenance people, and stuff like that, to a total of $6 million. With this proposed tax rate adjustment, once again, it's black and white. With this proposed tax rate adjustment, the 3 schools will be able to open. Without this proposed tax rate adjustment, the 3 new schools will sit empty and not open. Okay, the fourth thing, as we were preparing this, came upon us through the help of the county. It's a judgment levy. Judgment levies are interesting. Companies, corporations that cross county lines can appeal to the State Tax Commission to have their values readjusted if they have good arguments. And Pacific Core and CenturyLink, they cross county lines, so this judgment affects every taxing entity in the state. Pacific Core and CenturyLink appealed their tax values to the State Tax Commission. These appeals involved assessed values dating back to 2018. $453,000 has been awarded for these appeals from Weber School District. Weber School District has already collected and spent these funds in prior fiscal years. The legislature allows Weber School District to enact a one-time judgment levy to avoid the loss of these funds. Judgment levies do not occur very often. The last time the board used this levy was in 2016. With this proposed tax rate adjustment, Weber School District offsets a loss in revenue. There is zero gain. Without this proposed tax rate adjustment, Weber School District loses $453,000. So the total proposal for you tonight, just to summarize, to adjust the capital levy, $4.2 million, so that we can complete Roosevelt Elementary, to reduce the current debt service levy by the same amount, $4.2 million, then to adjust the local levy to operate and staff the 3 new schools, and to enact a judgment levy to avoid loss due to the tax commission ruling. So that's it in a nutshell. But let's look at the tax rates. Let's turn to the next page. When homeowners and businesses receive their tax notices, there basically are three lines that rates set by the state or the statewide basic levy and the state charter school levy. The school board, our school board, does not control those. They're controlled by the legislature. You can see in that column that says initial certified tax rates, that rate set was 001455, so 1455. The initial budget is $31.4 million. The cost on an average home is $520,000. The cost of a $520,000 house, which is the average home, is $416,000. We get that average home cost from the county assessor. Some may be saying, well, my house is worth more than that. Well, that's because you're above the average. The average is $520,000 in the county. The proposed rate, they have not changed it. So the average change over the initial rate is $0 there for state levies. Now, those set by the district. I wanted to point something out. Let's see if this pointer works. Okay, these rates right here are part of what's called the certified rate, and they sum to a total. And if you adjust any one of these levies and it goes above the certified rate, you have to have a truth in taxation. So our certified rate was $24.87, 24.87. Budgeted to raise $53 million. The cost on an average home is $711. We propose to raise that by $10.7 million, so that the average cost on a home is $142 a year. That's what was stated in the Truth in Taxation ad that appeared in the newspaper. However, we have the debt service levy that is also controlled by the board. It's not part of the certified rate. And so this does not appear in the Truth in Taxation ad. We are going to lower that. The budget was $28.9 million, and we are going to lower this by $4.2 million So taking $56 off of this advertised $142 a year. So the increase on the average home is $85.80 a year, or $7.15 a month. And so there are many people that will call and say, well, mine's above the average. Once again, I'm paying more, mine went up more than that. It's because your home, your home is valued more. Let's go to the next one. This board has been historically sensitive to taxpayers and the needs of children. There are 15 school districts along the Wasatch Front, from Logan in the north to Nebo in the south. Weber School District is close to the bottom on tax rates. We are 13th. We're currently 13th, and with this tax increase, we will continue to be at 13th. And you'll notice with the asterisks, there are 13 other districts that are going through truth and taxation. Our immediate neighbors, Davis and Ogden, are higher than the average. Our next immediate neighbor, Box Elder, is 9th. They're below the average, but above us. To say that we're not sensitive to taxpayers is just inaccurate. Also, on the spending and efficiency and fiscal responsibility, these are 3 facts. Facts are stubborn things. It's a fact. Weber School District has a AAA rating with Fitch Rating Agency. That's the highest rating you can get. Fitch rates all business entities and public entities and countries around the world. It's a fact. Utah ranks last in per pupil funding, per pupil spending, rather. Some would say, oh, I thought Idaho became last. They did 2 years ago, and then last year we fell below Idaho again. And so we're last in per pupil funding. It's a fact. Among Utah school districts, Weber School District is consistently in the bottom 10 for per pupil spending. When you count our M&O, our general fund, we are 3rd from the bottom. We are 38 out of 41 on spending. If you count our whole funds that include debt service, child nutrition, capital, we are 7th. So basically, you can look at that and say, Utah is the poorest funded state in the nation, and Weber School District is among the poorest funded school districts in the state. We are the poorest of the poor. That's how I look at it. We're very efficient. I would put our efficiency up against anyone. Recommendation, the bottom, then I'll sit down, is to set the Weber School District tax rate to 0.004130 and to set the overall state and local tax rate to 0.005585. The funds raised through this recommendation are $6,477,653. What occurs? First, we can build Roosevelt without a tax rate increase, so the construction costs are met as promised. 2, we'll staff and operate new schools as promised in the bond campaign, and we avoid a $453,000 loss in funds. So President Whittison, that's my presentation.
Thanks, Dr. Peterson. We appreciate that. Appreciate you taking the time to put that together. We'll now open the portion of the meeting to our public comment. A couple things we want to remind you is, as you stand at the microphone, will you please state your name, the school your children attend, the city of your residence, the topic that you wish to address, and whether you are representing yourself personally or if you're here representing a group. And again, you have 3 minutes. I believe there's going to be a timer on the board. If you'll be cognitive of that and courteous so that we have sufficient time to allow everyone that would like to make comments. And I've got the list here that you signed up on, and we'll. Oh yeah, it's. Yeah. Sure.
My comment would be, when it comes to the school your children attend, I think I would prefer the school of your area, your district, because community members can comment without having children in the school, since we all pay taxes. So if you don't have children in the school, then say, I'm within the boundaries of such and such school.
Could we have both, Janet?
Sure,
If,
you bet, you bet. Yeah,
if they would be willing to state both, that would be
yeah,
wonderful.
perfect.
Okay, what we will start off with is those that signed up electronically, because they've been on the roster for some time, and then we'll get to the ones who just signed up this evening. So let's go first with Brittany Ryan, please.
Welcome, yeah, right here.
While she's up, could Erica Munns come up and we'll put you on deck here, please. Thank you.
Okay, hello, my name is Brittany Ryan. I have children who attend Bonneville High School and a son that attends South Junior High. I'm here to represent myself as a teacher of Roosevelt Elementary. And I'm going to have to read it just so I don't stutter and I make my time. I am speaking as a former student, actually, and now a teacher at Roosevelt Elementary. Of my 20-year career with this district, 18 years have been spent at Roosevelt Elementary. I am here to discuss getting the approval for the new construction budget of Roosevelt Elementary. This is due to the crucial needs to rebuild the school. Our current conditions are unhealthy, creating restrictions in educating our students. First, we have no air conditioning. Last year, temperatures were reaching well over 90 degrees in classrooms at Roosevelt. This produces poor cognitive abilities. Also, half of our classrooms have no windows, which limits proper ventilation and egress if we had to evacuate. It is difficult to teach in these situations, but it is even more difficult for these students to learn. They often complain of headaches, sleepiness, and we get many bloody noses, which deters from greater student performance. In addition, student learning has been interrupted while the school has dealt with multiple leaks over the years, old pipe systems with dirty water, and limited heat during the winter. I love the Roosevelt Elementary community, and I'm a voice for many families who don't speak up because they don't know how. Some have multiple jobs, some have language barriers, and others simply have a fear of speaking. I truly care for these families and their students. I feel strongly that they deserve a healthy learning environment that will allow for greater academic success. Many students at Roosevelt Elementary already have so many things stacked against them, from poverty to lack of basic needs to poor family structures. Please don't let an elementary that is completely unsafe be one more thing stacked against these students and their education. That's why I stand before you. I hope that you'll consider this plea on the behalf of them and take what I've said into consideration when making your decision about the near future of Roosevelt Elementary. Thanks.
Thank you. While Erica's coming up, we'll put Mike Martini on deck, please.
Hello there. I am Erica Munns, and I am a mother of a 5th grader, 3rd grader, and kindergartner, all at Roosevelt. We do reside in Riverdale, but they all go to Roosevelt. And I also attended Roosevelt as a child, along with all my siblings and my father. And so I just want to thank you for this opportunity to discuss the rebuilding of the school. As it was stated in the video posted by Weber School District on August 10th, 2021, quote, after 64 years and thousands of children, time has taken its toll. The mechanical and heating systems are getting old. Not to mention the plumbing and electrical. Upkeep is expensive, costing thousands of dollars each year. The roof keeps leaking and is in need of constant repair. There are cracks in the asphalt and the foundation. The old septic system backs up. There is no AC except for one swamp cooler and only 2 outlets in some classrooms. The school needs to be updated, end quote. This is more true today than it was 2 years ago. Utah Office of Administrative Rule R392-200, the Design, Construction, Operation, Sanitation, and Safety of Schools states, if the temperature in a classroom is greater than 90 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 90 minutes, the persons in charge shall order the removal of all students from the affected areas of the school. The students shall not be allowed to return until the temperature is at or below 79 degrees Fahrenheit. During the cold weather, the governing body shall maintain the occupied areas of the school buildings at a temperature between 68 and 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Yesterday, I went into the classroom that my kindergartner will be attending this upcoming year, and at 10:42, it was 92.8 degrees. And this is without any students in the room. His teacher has taken it upon herself to get 6 fans and 1 AC unit, as well as hanging reflective devices on the windows. Despite her efforts, it is still above the 90-degree maximum. Not to mention the water in the drinking fountains. I obtained the sample this morning from the faucets of the school. Is this really safe for our children to be drinking? Would you allow your kids or grandkids to drink this? The students are unable to stay cool on hot days, and this impairs their ability to learn. In winter, my boys and their classmates would wear their coats in the classroom because it was so cold. We are not asking for the greatest technology of our school, or the smart boards, or fancy lightings, or these open pods. We just want regulated temperatures and clean drinking water. We already have such amazing staff and administration at that school, so there is not that added cost. Please think of these things in your consideration with rebuilding Roosevelt. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. While Mike is coming up, could we have Gilda come up next, please?
Board, President, Superintendent, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Mike Martini. Today I stand, well, I have children that attend West Weber Elementary and Walquist Junior High. Today I stand before you as a parent, community member, and the principal of Westfield High to advocate for a crucial investment of our educational system, an investment that has power to continue transforming the lives of our students and shaping the future of our community. I am here to urge you to consider increasing the tax rate to provide much needed support for our school staff, who play a pivotal role in nurturing the growth and success of our students. As a previous principal at Roy High, I had the privilege of leading the Roy Cone project. Its data speaks volumes of the positive impact of dedicated support staff. They have witnessed a remarkable 14% increase in the number of 9th graders entering 10th grade, on track to graduate compared to the previous year. Approximately 14% of the students receiving support from student advocates have demonstrated significant improvement in attendance with an increase of 3 or more days each quarter. Chronic absenteeism was drastically reduced from 33% to 16% at Roy High. This transformation was largely spearheaded by the student advocates, who employed innovative strategies such as phone calls, home visits, and even engaging with students at their workplace to facilitate them to return home. Last, Roy High's graduation rate increased from 95% to an impressive 97%, reflecting the commitment and hard work of our support staff in guiding students towards success. These statistics underscore the vital role that support staff play in promoting student success and engagement. However, it's not just about the numbers. It's about fostering an environment where our students can truly thrive. In this context, let's consider the indispensable role of the head secretary. Often working behind the scenes, a head secretary is the linchpin that keeps our school running smoothly. From coordinating schedules and maintaining administrative tasks to ensuring effective communication between students, staffs, and parents, their role is pivotal in maintaining the organizational backbone of our educational institutions. Looking ahead as we embark in the new Westfield Cone and the Westfield High school journey, it is imperative that we recognize the importance of robust support staff. These institutions are not merely bricks and mortar, as we have witnessed earlier just now, the past people that have spoke. It's the support staff that will play a pivotal role in creating a culture of honor, excellence, respect, and determination. They will bring the guiding light, providing the necessary guidance, mentorship, and support that every student and member of the community deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Walt Gilda's coming up. Could we have Shelley Neff come up, please?
I need a stool. Thank you. I teach kindergarten. Good evening, board members. My name is Hilda Hansen, and I've had both daughters have gone through Uinta South and are both currently at Bonneville High School. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to express myself. And I wasn't going to cry, but Erica, that's my classroom she's talking about. And I have spent countless hours trying to figure out ways to keep it comfortable for those kids, and 86 degrees is the lowest I've gotten it. I am a teacher at Roosevelt, and I'm going on my 6th year there. I can't tell you how many times other people have approached me to say, how do you stay there? That school is so old. That building is hot and falling apart. Why don't you go to school with an AC? My answer is simply this. I love my students. I love their families. I love the phenomenal teachers and staff I'm blessed to work with. They are truly an extension of my family. It is no secret that we are a Title I school and one of the poorest in the district, and one of the oldest buildings. My husband went there 43 years ago. I just aged myself. Yes, I'm old. It is also no secret that our students are some of those who are in the greatest need academically and in life's basic necessities. Our students truly have the greatest needs and deserve a safe, comfortable, and healthy environment to become their best selves as per the district vision statement. All of our students deserve a new school. They deserve to learn in classes that are not upwards of 90 degrees for several months of the year. They deserve to be able to drink out of the drinking fountain, clean water, not ones laced with rust. Our students should be able to lean against a window in our classes and halls and not burn their little hands. We deserve the ability to plug in an air conditioner, which we as teachers purchase ourselves. We're not asking anyone to do that. But we are unable to because it is against fire code, because of our electrical system being so outdated. And our classes are modern. We need to catch up with the times. Our students deserve clean and safe classrooms, free of asbestos and carpets drooping off the wall. My room is so hot that is what's happening. I have pictures. We saw the news story on KUTV showing off Roosevelt last year during our heat wave, where a parent put some of their car shades to try to help with our temperatures. We saw them also in the Wall Street Journal discussing the heat in our buildings. We have students getting bloody noses and headaches from the heat. I can testify to the increase in behavioral issues and frequency of them because as the heat intensified, it also affects the students' moods. Students fall asleep in class because they can no longer regulate their temperatures that barely differ from that of outside. I myself have an immune disorder, and I had to get a doctor's note and approved by the district to have a personal air conditioner. And I can't leave my desk, and let me tell you, 5-year-olds, that doesn't work. And all I want to do is give my tiny humans the best conditions to learn. All I ask is for Roosevelt to have an equitable opportunity and allow our students, teachers, and staff to be healthy, safe, and improve our experience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. While Shelley's coming up, Justin Zook, please.
Thank you for listening today, and thank you. I'm not as short as Hilda, but I still am kind of short. But thank you for listening today. I appreciate your time and your consideration for the Roosevelt rebuild. I'm Shelley Neff. I'm the principal at Roosevelt. I wasn't going to cry either. I've kind of been wiping it away, but you've heard some impassioned speeches. The conditions are not good at Roosevelt, which I know you all know. That's why this is so important. And I'm going to say I commend Weber School District for eking every last bit of life out of that beautiful building, because we've done it, right? We have eked every last bit, but it is time. We need a new building. 64 years is a long time for a building to be standing. And I also have to commend Weber School District for the amazing work ethic, the maintenance departments, the custodial services, the grounds, they truly create a great place for a community. Every school will up the value of your property. We will have amazing resources if this goes through, not just for our students, but for our community resources that are desperately needed. We have close to 60% poverty in our school. We provide coats, we provide shoes, boots. I have a cute counselor that is constantly sending out pleas for help, and we get donations like you wouldn't believe to help our little students who, it's a walking school. We were trying desperately this last year to increase our attendance, and those kids that had holes in their shoes made it kind of hard to get there in all that snow. And our counselor took it upon herself, and we had a new pair of boots for every single student, even those that weren't in need. That's the kind of people we have working at Roosevelt Elementary. It's the kind of people that stay because they love our students. We love our families. We want equitable conditions for every one of them, and they deserve it. And my sweet teachers, boy, you've never seen harder workers. And I'm so grateful and humble to work among them. Sorry, I better look at my notes because I'm getting off the... I'm going to also say I've worked for Weber School District for 20 plus years. I think I'm 21 now. The fiscal responsibility that is in this district has amazed me over the years. There were many, many years that
Thanks,
other
Shelley.
districts, okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. While Justin's coming up, Matt Patterson, please.
So my name is Justin Zook, or Mr. Zook. I don't have any children who go to Roosevelt, but my wife and I do live in Weber County. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Roosevelt Elementary. So the 2023-2024 school year will be my 4th one there. Having worked at Roosevelt for 3 years, I have experienced the dull, dimly lit hallways, the extremely hot and sweaty temperatures in classrooms the first months of school. I have seen the red in the face of my students during these months, their suffering and their desire to have relief from blazing temperatures. I've seen their morale diminish during these months and how it negatively affects their academic pursuits. The fact that students aren't able to drink non-hazy water from the drinking fountains is a major concern. When the water comes out, it is misty and has a brown tint. We all saw that earlier. The limited bathrooms for students cause many concerns, and the single bathroom for the upper grades often becomes a place of misbehavior and bullying. Limited bathrooms for staff members have led to teachers having to run around to find an open bathroom and sometimes not finding one before the next bell. Therefore, not being able to use a restroom until the next recess or break and having to hold it. My students have suffered these conditions, and I know each of them would benefit immensely academically, emotionally, and have increased amounts of morale and pride in their school if it were to be rebuilt. Staff members and students alike would be proud of the place they work/study in. The community would have something to be proud of. In one article written in the Seattle Times about the construction of their new schools titled, "Can New School Buildings Set Students Up for Success?" it says, "New building construction and modernization efforts can help boost morale, efficiency, and even outcomes within a school community." A comment from a 5th grade student, Jessica Williams, stated, "Coming to a fresh space made me feel like I belong to the school. A sense of belonging is important." The American Society of Civil Engineers 2021 report stated that the report and other research indicates that fixing school buildings can improve health and student learning. while also creating jobs. Some researchers have found that students have signs of improved test scores and attendance rates years after moving into new modernized school buildings. Another student, Kokik, said, "You kind of get the sense that you're in a school, and that really helps build a community." To him, the best school designs of the future are ones that make the experience for students and staff simple and efficient and make people feel welcome and connected to one another. If I understand how the changes to the residential taxes work, it means that there would only be about, on average, an $85 increase per household. It is a small price to pay for teacher-student morale, less behavior problems, increased test scores, and increased amount of safety for students and staff, increased staff/student hygiene, and student academic success for their futures. Thank you. I hope you will consider these major points in your determination.
Thanks, Justin. While Matt's coming up, Jim McHugh, please.
Board, Superintendent Butters, my name is Matthew Patterson. I'll be the new principal at Mountain View Junior High. I'm honored and privileged to serve that community. I've been have the opportunity to walk the halls with my hard hat and see the construction. It is a beautiful, welcoming structure that is designed for learning and students. Observing this building, I can't help but reflect on the countless lives that this building is going to impact and shape in the generations to come. It's an incredible building. But honestly, it's worthless without the passionate, caring, dedicated teachers and staff. These dedicated individuals become the lifeblood of the school, fostering an environment where students learn and grow and reaching their full potential. I'm here to share the support for the additional funding of the tax rate increase, ensuring that these new schools have the essential lifeblood, great leaders and staff. This will give our most valuable resource, the students, the necessary support so they can flourish and grow. I have personally seen how advocates, secretaries, aides, mental health specialists, resource officers, head secretaries, and all of those necessary for student success. In my last 5 years at Orion Junior High, I saw that personally. I saw where critical individuals made an incredible impact, helping reduce the number of Fs, increasing the morale of students, and helping increase the mental wellness of students, reducing referrals, major referrals of discipline, but most importantly, creating an inclusive and loving learning environment. I have no doubt, because of this amazing facility and even more incredible individuals that will work at this school, that we'll see the same success on the new Westfield Cone. I am so grateful to be able to work for Weber School District. It has been the best blessing and opportunity in my life to be able to work with and spend time with children and see the amazing growth and opportunities, and they truly bloom. Quote from Superintendent Butters. These individuals are truly the lifeblood of our school, and we need to finish the investment to help these valuable students. Thank you.
Thank you. While Jim's coming up, Roy Perkis, please.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Jim McHugh, and I live in the Ogden Valley. The reason why I'm here this evening is not to contest or be against any of the improvements and things that you're looking to do in the school district. My comments are relegated to revenue generation in that which you attempt to do. As a septuagenarian, I have great concern about the never-ending increases in school tax, which represent 60% of my tax bill. As a senior on fixed income, the taxes are going up well in excess of my income, and there's nothing that can be done. So I think I speak for myself, and I speak for many of the seniors in our community who wouldn't know how to approach you or be able to come and respond. We are facing very difficult times with rising drug costs, property taxes, etc. Again, this is nothing about any of the schools or any of that business. My concerns as I look at them is that I see in the news, as I follow the news, I try to stay informed on what's going on, which is why I came this evening. And there's constant conversation and articles in the Standard Examiner as an example, where they speak about sign-offs on tax relief for, or sometimes known as TIF, and there's a couple of other acronyms that are used out there for tax relief to encourage business development in our community. What happens in those cases is revenue is given up by those entities to fund the things the school district needs. So you have, in an event, what happens is you come to us, while the tax rate doesn't go up, our tax bills do go up. Tax rate is one component. And as we all know, or most of you should know, the fair market value on your property tax bill is commonly referred to as fair market value by an assessor or the financial community. Well, fair market value, until you sell, is an unrealized gain. And so the tax rate is simply applied to an unrealized gain. Everybody in this room probably has some sort of investments, maybe in stock, et cetera. Can you imagine if annually you had to pay income tax on unrealized gain? So my point is to ask you, as consideration for raising your revenues moving forward, that these tax holidays or TIFs or whatever you sign off on, and it's in the news, the county commission and the state legislature in this quest for endless growth is shifting that burden onto us. And us seniors, I've been paying property tax in the state for over 50 years. There should be some relief for myself and others. There's a mechanism which is talked about called circuit breaker. Circuit breaker is not tax relief, it's tax deferral.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Thank you. While Roy's coming up, Steve Huntsman, please.
Well, I should have figured this was going to be a quiz, since we're around all these teachers and superintendent and everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Roy Perkis, and I live in Riverdale City, which is not a community, it's a city, an incorporated city, just so you know that, since y'all are teachers. I have a couple of points. First, I want to say I really appreciate the teachers and the administrators and all the students who are suffering through all of that. A lot of us citizens didn't know that. We don't know that. I don't have any children in school right now. All my kids are grown. They've left the nest. It's just my sweetheart and myself. So I appreciate you. Dr. Peterson, you did a fantastic job presenting, but I have a few points that I'd like to make, if you don't mind. I'd like to change your way of thinking about funding schools. For the last 20 years that I've been in Riverdale, 23 years, actually, I'm getting old, we have had endless increases, one way or another, either through bonds or through taxation or whatever. Every year that something is voted on, there is an increase for schools, excuse me. So, and we need to change our way of thinking. There's not really a goal, there shouldn't be a goal to be the highest funding per student. That's not the goal. The goal is education. The goal is making sure our students are educated when they leave school. They know how to read, write, and they know their math and so forth. That's important. That's the goal. Let's see, I'm going to skip a few points. I'm going to have to put my eyes on. Okay, sorry I'm losing time here. I have medical glasses I have to wear, so I'm sorry. All right. The second point is those 20 years that we've had all of this money that we've been taking from the taxpayers, where is it? We're talking about a school that's 40-something years old that still has no air conditioning, still has bad water, still has falling down walls and whatnot, no heating. And I know some teachers that personally that have experienced this. So where's that money gone? As a taxpayer, I'm not seeing the accountability. Now, this is the first time we've come to the meeting and we've seen all this transparency. That's fabulous. We need a lot more of that. Last point. When you have a certain number of people in a city and they pay a certain amount of tax that covers the infrastructure, including schools, when you have a big influx, you have that much more increase in your tax revenue. So why are we increasing the taxation? There shouldn't need to be any increase.
Thanks,
Thank you
Troy.
so much.
While Mr. Huntsman's coming up, Steve Thompson, please.
Steve Huntsman, I live in North Ogden. I have 9 children who have gone through the Weber School District program, all in North Ogden. I have a son in high school, Weber High. My children are good community members. Most of them have gotten degrees. I have a son in dental school right now. I have an attorney. I have mechanical engineers. I have all kinds of well-raised kids who have done great in the Weber School District. My point is, I'm really appalled tonight at what I heard about the dirty water and the high temperatures. That makes you sad. It breaks your heart, and it's wrong. And we know as an individual, your focus should be on, as individuals and as a board member, should be on fixing this and addressing this. This is the right approach. You're doing the right thing. My point is, we as a school, you as a school board, should be focused on the right use of the funds. We approved a bond in 2001 for new schools for $279 million. That was not for specific schools. That may have been something that you as a board voted on for specific schools, but that is not in the literature that was published. It was for rebuilding schools, okay? New schools and remodeling. So to say that we voted for these overruns is not correct. And by hiring the best architects in the state, and by hiring the best construction company in the state, has been said, and then getting a $52 or $59 million overrun, if I was the board of directors and my board came to me and they said, hey, we got the best designer out there and the best construction company, and our charges are up $59 million, I'd fire that board and say, no, we've got a budget here of $279 million. Let's figure out how to use that and build what the voters approved to be done right. If my wife came to me and she said, hey, I got this great car and it's super great and it's going to be it's the best and everybody says it's the best, but it's a lot of money, we can't afford that. My point is, this is about money management, not money productivity. You have already gotten, last year you did a truth and taxation hearing, 25% increase in the last 2 years in property tax revenue to the school. You've already got the state certified fund, which is going to give you some increase over last year to cover growth. You don't need to increase this drastic. On my taxes, my business alone is getting a $2,500 increase this year just from the school board, just for this decision. That's a 13.6% increase on top of the property tax increases that have already happened. This is a money management issue, board. We're asking you as concerned citizens to focus on getting the schools built and built right, but in budget. Just in the last several months, just in the last month, we've been seeing 30% reduction in bids.
We appreciate it.
So, thank you.
Thanks. Well, Mr. Thompson's coming up. Brent Straight, please.
Steve Thompson, North Ogden. I'm one of the few that don't have children in school. They're all grown and away from home right now. I wanted to follow up with what Steve Huntsman said and Mr. Hughes said earlier, add a few items here. Between Weber County District, School District, the state levy, and the charter levy, we've got a 49% tax increase from the school system on our property taxes, 49%, almost half of our property taxes is that. Now, you know, I know all this. I've had children in Massachusetts and all that, and I know how expensive it is. Schools there, but there's a total different environment from here. So we have a 13.68% increase proposal from the certified tax rate, which has been mentioned. The certified tax rate is a state-regulated legislation approved between home value and the tax rate, neutralized thing. You can't tax people out of their home. So that neutralizes that area. We have a 13.68% increase. With the 25% increase that Steve just mentioned of the last 2 years, that's a 39% tax increase in just 3 years. My question is, or one of the things I'd like to know is, when we the voters, I moved here 2.5 years ago from Utah County, but in 2021, when the voters approved this $279 million bond revenue thing, was there any account about inflation rate then? You had to have had it's not 0%. You had to have an inflation rate figured in at that $279 million. Now you're proposing a 5%, a little over 5% per year inflation rate between 2021 and 2025. But we have Trump had a 2.5% inflation rate. It's been averaging 4 or 5% now. I'm saying we have an overspending problem. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. While Brent's approaching, Leanne Bowes, please.
This isn't quite my height
Pull that
here.
up. Just pull it straight up. There you go.
Oh, there we go. So I appreciate everyone who has spoke tonight. Everyone's brought up some great points, and I so appreciated Mr. Peterson giving his presentation. That really spoke to my mind. I thought it was logical. It was prepared well. But I must add to that I've observed. I've been to the board meetings, and Mr. Perkis made the point about this is the first time we've come together, and oftentimes we wait until this point, when in reality we should have been at board meetings in the past. We should be calling our representatives and letting them know about our concerns. And it's important that we do that, because here's my observation. I have watched the board. I have watched them look at all the different scenarios, all the different options that they had. And I can tell you that they absolutely have the best interests of both the taxpayer and our students in this district. You know what? I forgot to do something that I have to do. So by the bylaws of the Utah State Board of Education, I must disclose that I am a member of that board and that I speak on behalf of myself. I also serve on the South Ogden City Council. I must disclose that I represent myself in those regards. So I apologize. I should have said that right from the beginning. I'm sitting back here by the residents and those in the community of Roosevelt, and I felt their need. I was a teacher for 30 years in the Weber School District. I spent the last 20 years at Bonneville High School. All 7 of my children graduated, with my last one this year. And I've been in that hot room. I've been there 4th and 8th period, which is the last part of the day, when it was hard to function. And we did eventually get air conditioning. It made a big difference. But that's not even really the point. The point is that I feel 100% satisfied with the work that's been done, the explanation that's been given. In fact, I know this isn't legal because you have to declare your tax rate. I would pay more, because I know there's great needs out there. There's great needs in all our schools, and we want every single student to have the same opportunity. And that's one of the most important reasons why we need to build Roosevelt Elementary. And there's other needs out there. Yes, this won't be the end, but there's not a natural built-in adjustment to inflation with our school funds. It's just not there. And we need to constantly be evaluating. Thank you so much.
While Leanne's coming up, Pam Nichols, please.
Hi, I'm up in Ogden Valley, so I'm associated with the schools up there, but I'm here because of the tax increase. I am on a fixed income, and you are taxing me out of my home. And if you're taxing me out, you're taxing other people out. Please say your name. Oh, I'm sorry, Leanne Bowes, a very active voter. Anyway, if you're taxing me out, I know you're taxing other people out of the valley, or even in Ogden, because the rich are moving in. So not only being sensitive to the children, and my heart goes out to Roosevelt. Those kids, it's sad. But you need to be sensitive to the seniors that are on fixed income. And that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Well, after Pam, Reed Miller, please.
Hello, my name is Pam Nichols. I myself went to Roosevelt over 50 years ago. My children and grandchildren have also attended. I now have a first grade son whom I adopted, and he attends Roosevelt. I feel these children deserve a new school. This was approved and has been mentioned for approval on a number of times before. The children have been told and are expecting a new school. They have been excited watching the houses been torn down. My little boy watches every time we drive by. That's where the new school's going to be. Now this excitement of a new school may be taken away. These children deserve a safe school with air conditioning, sufficient windows and doors, and reliable heating. This school is 66 years old, and although it has been taken care of, it is unsafe due to age. I understand the tax increase is difficult. I'm a senior too, and on a fixed income and raising a 6-year-old, I also understand the importance of Roosevelt being rebuilt. I want my son to attend a school with a healthy condition. I also want to say our teachers are great there, and they deserve it because they do their very best to give the children what they need. Please consider all of this when making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Miller's coming up. The next one is Linda. We don't have a last name on that, but Linda. Okay.
Okay, my name is Reed Miller. I'm from North Ogden, Utah. And the thing that I want to say is I was flabbergasted when I heard the reports about Roosevelt Elementary. Why hasn't something been done in the past? Come on now. If something's that bad, how come we have to wait literally decades for something like that to happen? The second thing is taxing is really an important thing because any type of fees or increase of taxes is taking money out of our pockets, which is property. Property. Our officials, government leaders, are supposed to protect our rights, our property, our life, our liberty. And so that is a very sensitive subject, that taxing system. And so those things need to be taken into consideration. And of course, the management of the funds is certainly something that's important. The final thing I have, public schools, you know, we see our children go to them and we want the best education possible. But the reports that I have seen is that many elements are being introduced into our school system that are either communist-based or socialistic-based, and yet they're creeping in, so our students are not getting the historical background of our country and our other things that we need. Yes, funding is important, but funding for what? Is it to support our children in a system that's really going away from the American way. So those concerns are the ones that I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. While Linda's coming up, Cal McCrary, please. Linda, will you please state your last name?
Absolutely.
Thank
My
you.
name's Linda Sanchez, and I live in Weber County. And actually, when I heard this, I was like, slap me silly and call me Myrtle. I thought we just had tax increases. I don't have any children. All my children are raised. I'm a nurse. And so it kind of bothers me. One, when I did like your presentation. However, I have a couple of things. You were saying best dominant bids. Why are we not bidding out? Why are we just taking the top? My husband is disabled. There's a lot of things we don't do because we can't. Or we have to plan. We have to save. Or we have to come together as a community. Now, a lot of people, like in the past, you had one income and you had a parent stay at home. So then, therefore, a lot of things would be taught at home. Well, now, everything's raised. You have to have two incomes to stay afloat and to pay for everything. So it does go to the schools a lot. But do you realize that you're taxing people so much? These children that you're trying to save, their parents are trying to make it. This bubble that keeps happening, what are you going to do when they're living out of the auto? You're raising the taxes so that there's going to be more than shoes you're going to have to provide and other things, and it's going to be more than a hot room. There's going to be other things, like how far does it go? And yes, that's what we say. We as a community need to come together to find out answers. So it's not just tax the elderly. I'm a nurse, I said. The elderly, in order to pay for things, are deciding, should I buy food? Should I buy medicine? What should I tell them? What should I tell them? You need food and you need medicine. So that we can do what? I agree. We need to be more diligent with our money. We have got to. Because guess what? The worst isn't here yet. We're not planning ahead. We got to come together as a community. Before, when you went to school, how many times would you see parents volunteer? How much do you see people? Heck no, the parents want to drop them at the door and let the schools deal with it. We got to come together and find out some resources for helping. The parents want better schools. We got to come together. You can't feed one hand and take from the other and expect the other not to be have a negative result, right? The other thing I want to say is it kind of bothered me. I was looking at Weber County and
Thanks, Linda. Well, Mr. McCrary's coming up. Bryce Lithgow, please.
I'm Cal McCrary, Washington Terrace. I have grandchildren, but they're currently attending Highmark Charter School over in the South Weber area. So I don't know if that's still within your purview or not. But listen, I was here at the board meeting when they voted for the bond, and at that time I commented and I said, oh, by the way, I'm letting Superintendent Butters off the hook tonight because she wasn't here at the time, so I'll let her off the hook. But I asked him, I says, have you figured in what it's going to cost for inflation, what it's going to cost for building materials? It's going to be hard to get, the increased cost of building materials, the increased cost of labor, all that kind of stuff. And I was told, oh yeah, we have experts that have figured in all that. And so now here we are tonight talking about massive cost overrun, and you're only about 2 years into this building project. So I'm assuming these schools are not completed yet. And then Mr. Peterson, in his presentation, at the tail end of it, he says something about, now if we don't get this increase, we might have to drop the rebuild on Roosevelt Elementary. And I thought to myself, okay, let's pick on the worst one of the bunch to say you're going to have to drop it. And based on the sentiment here tonight, I think if you drop that rebuild, I think you're going to have a lot bigger problem on your hands. And so because and the board, I want you to remember that you represent the people that elected you and put you in the office that you're in. And so, because last year my taxes went up, just the school portion went up 49% because of the reevaluation of my home and because of the 19% increase that the school district got. That went up 49%. Now here you're asking for another 13-something%. Plus, the state legislature gave all the schools a big chunk of cash this year because they had extra money. And so now here you are asking for more money. You're building these schools too big, too lavish, and they're costing a lot of money. And so you need to start looking for ways to build these things more economically. Quit thinking bigger is better, and start thinking about being more efficient in the way they're being built. I agree completely with the man talked about. You've got a money management problem, not the fund. The funds are coming in, but you're managing poorly. And you talk about putting like mental health experts now, I think, at each school. Well, I got news for you. Not all mental health professionals are created equal. There are some out there that are pretty good, and there are others that stink on ice. And the schools have no business going in to the psychology business with their students. If mom and dad think if their kids need help, it should be up to mother and father to decide who gets to deal with their kids on a psychological basis, not the school. And so, thank you. But rebuild Roosevelt Elementary. That should have been, in fact, that's what I wanted to say. That's criminal neglect that school wasn't rebuilt 20 years ago. To hear what these teachers back there are saying, that's neglect.
Well, Bryce is coming up. Chris Hadley, please.
I'm Bryce Lithgow. There we go. I can see the high school in Taylor. They're right there by my house, so I live in that area. I came here to get angry at Egina, but I couldn't. After doing some research, I was wrong about some things, and that's what I was going to come talk to you about. But I am upset. No, I shouldn't say I'm upset. I'd like to see the board lead a little bit better with regards to monies and how they're used. If the state of Utah has a transparent a portal where you can get on and see what people make, and I probably spend too much time on there. I should be running my business. But when I was looking at what I started to look at what Gina made and what the other superintendents, and I could be wrong, but I think they're making lower than they did in previous years, if I am correct. So I'm impressed by that. What I'm not impressed with is what the board does. Just to go around the room, and these are all numbers you can find. Keep in mind that the board here that is less than part-time gets wages and full-time health benefits while on the board. Paul Widdowson, the president, since he has been on, this is lifetime, not year, so this is the whole time they've been on the board, has been compensated through wages and benefits to the tune of over $98,000. John Ritchie has received benefits to the tune of over $142,000 since being on the board. Douglas Ritchie, I'm sorry if I got the name wrong there, is over $89,000. Jen. So it's on the state of Utah website. So if someone put that on there, then someone here has sent incorrect information to the state. Yeah, it's run by the state. So this includes wages and your benefits. Yes, your health insurance costs a lot of money.
Health insurance here, Bryce.
You've had it for, according to this, several years. I don't know if you have it here this year, but you've had it before.
Accuse me, make sure you're talking facts.
I have facts. You get on there and find out. Then you find out who in the school district submitted false information to the state. That's what I would suggest doing. Because that's where I'm getting this. It's on there. You can find it. That's where I found out her information as well, her wages. So this is not something I'm making up. All I'm saying here is I would like to see the board follow the lead of the superintendency, and let's put more money back in the schools. And I heard lots of people talk about how support staff are important. All this money could have gone to them instead of this board. That's how I'm going to finish. Thank you.
While Chris is coming up,
I've got this actual stack.
Brandon Baca, please.
My name is Chris Hadley. I live in Roy. My children attend the Hadley Happy Homeschool, all 8 of them. When they need a custodian, they call me. I'm the maintenance guy. And I apologize to you, Mr. Lithgow. This is public comment, not board comment. Speaking of inflation, I had a best estimate of inflation 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't get to go tax somebody because my estimate was a little bit low. Now, to be truthful, I do work for the other school district in the county. I work for the Ogden School District. However, inflation overall is our fault. Here we are at this meeting speaking to you as a board, and inflation is our fault. We treat inflation like inflation is the fault of the tire being overinflated, as opposed to the pump or the person pumping the air into the tire. It's too much money, too many dollars that don't have any backing, and we stand here as a board and we put our hands out to federal dollars. And we expect that inflation isn't going to be an issue. And I get it, you're not the only ones that are culprits. Too many of us are culprits all over this country. We're spending money that doesn't even exist or has no backing. Now, there's been a lot about the students. I get it, that's terrible. There have been seniors here who are living on fixed incomes, right? So we have a problem. We have a little bit of a problem going on here. I would suggest that we have a monopoly. And in our society, monopolies are generally bad. We need more competition so that you as a board, so that you as teachers, so that everyone involved in school districts has to struggle a little bit for the money, has to fight for the money. There's not enough competition. And I know that makes people feel uncomfortable. I know it does. Okay, one thing I wanted to say right out of the gate was, thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, but where's the prayer? Where's the prayer importuning God to oversee these things? Without him, nothing can stand for long. I don't know, but I suspect that it feels to me like we're playing a shell game with lease revenue bonds while we're lowering our debt service levy and increasing our capital levy. It seems like it's a shell game. We're going to go out and we're going to borrow more money, and then we're going to have to pay that money back later. That's going to come back to us. That's going to come back and bite us in the future. It will.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Well, Brandon's coming up. Heidi Gross, please.
My name is Brandon Baca. I am a veteran. I'm speaking as an individual. My daughter attends Uinta Elementary, and my son attended Sandridge Junior High School and graduated from Bonneville High School. I live in Washington Terrace, and I am a property owner in Weber County. I have taught in Weber School District for 21 years. I'm also the husband of Daniela Loya Baca, a Weber School District employee who has taught in the district for 11 years. I'm speaking in favor of the board action to issue a revenue bond to complete the Roosevelt rebuild project. Presently, my wife and I both teach in schools populated with students from lower socioeconomic statuses. I teach social studies at Sandridge Junior High School, and my wife teaches multi-language learners at Roosevelt Elementary. My wife's students come from all over the world to include Russia, Tonga, Samoa, the Marshallese Islands, as well as many students from Latin America. They all suffered immensely in the sweltering heat in a facility with no air conditioning in August and going well into September. The students and teachers suffered a range of excessive heat-related injuries, from excessive nosebleeds to heat exhaustion. The cooling fans brought in were of limited success and generally aggravated students and faculty who had allergies. It also added extra noise, which impeded learning. Yet her students and parents were grateful and did not complain perhaps because they were not aware of the disparities in district facilities and or their rights to speak up. It is the Weber way to welcome all students regardless of where they come from and socioeconomic status, and to give them optimal facilities for learning. It is the Weber way to serve the students who have the least, to advocate for the parents who cannot advocate for themselves, and to provide serviceable facilities for our dedicated and tireless public servants who wear their hearts on their sleeves and give their full measure of devotion. Thank you, Weber School Board, for the opportunity to speak in this process, and so please support the revenue bond to complete the Roosevelt Rebuild project to promote quality public schools for all of our students. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Heidi Gross, please.
I'm Heidi Gross. I live in Huntsville. I have 5 children who've gone through the Weber School District. They are a 5th generation of being in Weber School District. You know, I'm proud to say, you know, my grandfather was there at Weber High 70, 100 years ago. And I'm a good old Weber warrior. I've taught with Weber School District for 35 years, retired a year ago. This last year I have been substitute teaching. So I've been in the schools. I see what's happening. I see where the money's gone. I have made it a goal to be to board meetings, and I've learned a lot being at board meetings. I encourage you all, there's no excuse why you all can't be here at board meetings or watch board meetings online through the sites. You'll understand. I've learned a lot this last year of where our money goes. I know that the state and our state legislatures require a lot of the teachers and the administrators, and they assign things for us to do, but then they don't apply funding for us and expect us to accomplish a lot of testing, a lot of different things. I know a lot of our money has gone to school safety. That's been really important. It's supplies. You don't understand all the little supplies that teachers need and how many of those supplies have come out of teachers' own pockets. It's not just a couple $100. It's several $100s. My husband cringes when he sees what I'd spent to help my students. I even have helped some of my students dress because they didn't have clean clothes. I've made sure they've had food in my classroom. I know another thought that a lot of people haven't thought of too is as teachers, we don't get paid a whole lot. I mean, we do get paid, but our salaries come from our taxes that we have to pay right along with everybody else. And so, you know, we struggle and we're safe. I know the seniors, I'm watching my own parents probably being taxed out of their home in the valley. But not just the seniors, I'm watching my children trying to get into homes and to have their children and support their children with the tax money. But I've always been taught, I am so grateful for you seniors now and probably your parents who paid for my education in Weber School District. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I am proud to be a grandmother now of grandchildren in Weber School District, and I'm happy to pay for their education too. If you want to know where your money goes, I please encourage you to attend board meetings or watch them online. And I do support the tax increase because I understand where that money is going. Thank you.
Thank you. I got behind just a little bit. Lonnie Crockett, please. Sorry about that. And Dustin James Harper will follow, please.
My name is Lonnie Crockett. I live in Huntsville, and I've had children in the Weber School District. I now have grandchildren. So my biggest complaint about the taxation is that it never seems to end. And I'm just wondering when it's going to end, to continue to increase our tax rates. Many of us in this room, fortunately I am not yet, I'm 75 years old and I still work. I work for myself. And I have the ability to earn more as I need it at times. Sometimes it doesn't work. But there are many in this room that I know, and others that are not here that I know, that are being taxed out of their homes. And I saw some figures today that said that the tax increase has gone from, in our county, has gone up 57% since 2018. I think that's low because my taxes have tripled in the last 5 years on my property. So my idea of taxation, and that's my profession, I am a tax professional, is that taxation without representation is bad, but it's getting to the point to where taxation with representation is even worse. Because nobody is paying attention to the taxpayer. They say, well, we need the money, so let's just go to the taxpayer and get it, instead of looking at what they're spending their money for. Do these schools need to be built to look like a Taj Mahal? Now, this school that they're talking about in Washington Terrace, some gentleman said, why wasn't this addressed years ago? Why are you waiting till now to address this? Surely we've had hot temperatures. So my idea is stop your spending, or at least curtail your spending. When I don't have enough money for the month, I can't go to my neighbor and say, give me some money because I don't have the ability to pay my bills. But that's what you're doing. You're saying, we don't have enough money to do this, so we're going to go out and, by law, enforce the idea that that the taxpayer can come to my rescue. My thinking is watch your spending. I'm an accountant by profession, okay, a tax accountant. You don't just go out and say, give me more money to help me pay my bills. You adjust your spending. We don't need Taj Mahals for high schools and junior high schools. We don't need that. Many of us in here went to school. I grew up and born in the state of Alaska, and I went to a very small high school. And it's still there, and it still functions perfectly well. Why can't we just build a nice school, but it doesn't have to be a Taj Mahal? So stop your spending. That's the deal. Stop your spending. Curtail what it is that you're spending so much money on. Watch what you spend. Match your spending with what you make instead of raising the money from us taxpayers.
Thanks, Lenny. Well, Dustin's coming up. Suzette Liu, please.
Hello, everyone. My name's Dustin. We live in...
One second. Let's get the timer readjusted here. There you go. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My name's Dustin. We live in the Uinta Highlands, which is unincorporated Weber County. So my kids go to Uinta Elementary School. Most of the points I was planning on making have already been made, so I'll keep this brief. First, I don't think anybody disagrees that Roosevelt Elementary needs to be rebuilt, and I think several of us agree that it should have happened a long time ago. Secondly, a few comments from the beginning presentation here. I was also slammed with inflation this last year, just like the school district was, and all of us here. And honestly, I'm proud of the fact that our school district has low per pupil spending, and Utah in general. I take that as good efficiency. Finally, I think that if this truly is a black and white decision, as was stated at the very beginning, then that's more a comment about the creativity of the decision makers and sticking to a budget. So thank you. I appreciate you coming to listen to us complain about our tax increases, but I also recognize that you're legally obligated to do it. And so now I'll cut my comments short so we can get home for bedtime. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Following Suzette, CJ Hendrick, is that it? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Suzette Liu. My children attended Fremont and Roy High School. And I'm here to talk about some taxes. Property taxes levied by Weber School District for an average home in Weber County. I did my homework. In 2018, $560.63. In 2019, $599.43. In 2020, $634.22. 2021, $660.88. 2022, $879.40. 2023, $883.61. This is an average home slightly below the $505,000 average in Weber County. It is a 57.61% tax increase in only 5 years. From 2018, from the amount $560 to $60.63 to the year of 2022, the amount was $879.40. That is a 56.85% tax increase, and that is in 4 years. My income did not increase by 56.85%. And just so you know, that is only for the Weber School District section of the property taxes, not the total school taxing, various taxes, taxing total. When I want more money, I have to go find a way to increase my income. I can't go to the taxpayers and say, hey, I want a better, bigger, nicer house, and you guys can pay for it. I have to find ways to increase my income. But actually, with the cost of inflation and the increased cost of living, then I have to live within my means, and I have to adjust my budget, and I have to take things out. So it means maybe less on medical, maybe less on food, maybe less on clothing, maybe less on transportation. I have to find a category that I can cut. And this is reality for almost all of Weber County citizens because of the increased cost of living recently and the increased inflation. Almost all the citizens have had to find ways to live within their means and cut things out of their budget. And there are people who are being taxed out of their homes. My sister has quite a few friends up in the valley who are elderly if they haven't died yet, and they have been taxed out of their homes. Most of their Social Security went to their property taxes. I think this is wrong. I think we shouldn't be taxed out of our hard-earned property. Most people spend a life building their wealth, paying off their homes, paying off their property. When they reach old age and they're living on fixed income, they shouldn't be
Thanks,
kicked
Suzette.
out.
Appreciate you coming in. We have this LJ or CJ. Is that ringing a bell?
Last name starts with an H, I think. Handy?
Okay. Let's see. I guess we'll skip that from West Haven if that doesn't ring a bell with anybody.
There's a gentleman that came in real late right at the end. I'll take it if you need someone to fill it. Is there anyone that, I guess, is there anyone that signed up to speak that hasn't had the opportunity? Did you sign up now?
Yes, I did, but as general.
Oh, in the general, okay, that will be fine.
That's coming up.
That'll be fine.
Okay. I haven't received that list yet, so. Okay. Well, I think that's the end of our list. We appreciate everybody coming in. We appreciate your concern. I think all of us have gone through the sticker shock of our tax notices. You know, I live in the house I grew up in, so I've been there for 60 plus years, and I think my taxes are more than what my parents paid for that house that long ago. And it's a hard thing. The economy's hard. You see a lot of gray-haired people up here that's the board, and we understand that. We also understand that we have an obligation to we have an obligation to offer the children in this district the best opportunity to get an education, and those two conflict sometimes, and it's a hard thing. But we appreciate you coming in, taking time. Somebody encouraged involvement in the meetings, and we're open, so please. What we'd like to do is have Dr. Peterson review the proposed adjustments, and then we will go to vote after that. Dr. Peterson.
As presented, just as a reminder, the proposal is to raise the local levy and then to decrease the debt service levy for a final school district tax rate of 0.004130. Also, even though the state sets the rates, as a board, we have to approve the total rate. That's part of the statute. And the total rate is 0.005585. So what is proposed is the Weber School District rate to 0.004130, and then the total rate, which includes the state levies, to 0.005585. This will raise $6.4 million, and it will help us replace Roosevelt without a tax rate increase and help us staff and operate the new schools and avoid that $453,000 loss on the judgment levy.
Thanks, Dr. Peterson. Board, if any of you like to make some comments, let's open that up for the board. Doug, please.
Roosevelt. I'd like to just say a comment or two about that. My kids went to Roosevelt Elementary. My wife taught at Roosevelt Elementary, and she finished her career up at Washington Terrace Elementary, both Title I schools. So I understand, I appreciate the concern. So I'm right there with that. And remember, my wife went back teaching. The idea was we'd have some additional income, but to try to help those poor kids of those Title I schools, we'd have our budget meetings, and it seemed like she was spending almost as much on coats and helping those kids and supplies and things that as her salary. I thought, we're not getting ahead. But so before I came on the board, I thought, man, why isn't the school funding the materials and the various things the students need? And now I realize it's a tight budget. We have to do the best we can. And so I was a taxpayer before I came on the board, and I'll be a taxpayer after I'm off the board. So I get that, understand, and I appreciate.
While you're on the board.
Yeah.
You're still paying.
Yeah. And so isn't it great we live in America? We can come and talk and complain or do whatever we want to do. We can speak freely our mind. There's countries in this world, if what people would have come forward to do that, they'd be hauled off to jail. So isn't it great? I'm grateful we live in America, and I appreciate your comments. This is really great. And I'd just like to make a comment about the heat and the temperatures. Back in the olden days, and you said gray hair. I've gone past gray hair. I'm silver-haired. But back in the day, we started school after Labor Day and finished by Memorial Day. But when we started school, we didn't take the day before Thanksgiving off. We didn't take a week off at spring break because by law, the state of Utah legislates we have to have 180 days of school. 180 days of school and 990 hours of instruction. So that 990 hours of instruction give us some flexibility. The first week of school, we can just hold school till noon, have lunch, and be done and still meet both of those requirements. But it's hard to have both. People want to have a week to take their kids on a vacation and do all these kinds of things, but in order to do that, we have to start school earlier. And I'm on the Capital Improvements Committee, and roughly half of our schools right now have air conditioning. We'd have to double your taxes if we need to put air conditioning in all the schools right now. But as the old ones go out and the new ones built, in the olden days, air conditioning was a luxury. Now it's a necessity.
And so it's a process that we have to do to go through. One day, I don't know when it'll be, we'll have air conditioning in all the schools, but it's a long, organized process. And we have Roosevelt right now is one of the bottom schools on the list that needs to be replaced, but there's some that are getting close right after that. And it's a process that we have to go through between the funding and not trying to cost people too much money, but also to provide a good school with a good environment for the teaching of our kids. So just want to say that. And by the way, as local board members, we have no legislative authority. We do not have the ability to pass the laws or make executive orders like in Washington, D.C. or the places where the inflation has originated. But we do have to react to the inflation, what's happening, do what's best for the kids and do the best we can. So thank you for your comments. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Doug. Janice, go ahead.
I too appreciate you spending your time and bothering to be here and to comment and to be aware of what's happening in the school district. I had a couple thoughts about, I was one of the voters who voted past the bond in 2021. And as Dr. Peterson suggested, it was by 60.5%, which is a huge percentage of the voters voting for those schools. So I do feel a responsibility in following up with the fact that they said, well, this will not cover costs, some of the costs. And I asked Dr. Peterson, so this is not a one-time thing, this is ongoing, right? So does this tax increase pay for the ongoing costs at these schools? And he said, yes. I think that eventually we'll have to see that there are increased teacher costs, there are increased facility, all the utilities costs, there'll be some, but overall it should be covered with this increase. An astute member from our community mentioned, and that's, I wonder, can we not as a district be more responsive to things such as, since January, construction costs have gone down 30%. Can we not capitalize on that with different bids? Can we not take advantage and kind of roll more with what's really happening instead of those skyrocketing ones? Those are concerns that I have. We're all concerned about the children in our area. They're our future. We're all concerned about it. But if we tax their families crazy, the kids suffer too. So I don't think it's, you can't say that, raise this tax and help the kids. We're affecting the kids by raising the taxes too. Those are some of my concerns. Again, I appreciate you being here, and I would highly suggest that you do as has been suggested about being present at these meetings or online. Tonight I asked our tech people, I said, I have someone asking, can I watch this online? And he gave me 2 different ways to watch it online. Please, we need the community to be another set of eyes and to talk sooner than when it comes to truth and taxation. Thank you.
Thanks, Janice. Anyone else? Jan?
Paul, can I just ask Dr. Peterson, Mr. Thompson asked about, was inflation ever addressed in the bids? And I think I've heard that, and I just wanted you to speak to that if you could.
Okay, just real brief. The 3 schools, the high school, the new builds, the high school, the junior high, and the elementary have already been bid out. That they're 2 years, I mean, as soon as the election was over, we started. And so those bids are locked. And had we not bid when we did, prices have gone up 56%. It is true that that prices have leveled. I don't know if they've dropped, but we've seen them leveling in our county and in other counties. I watch this. I've got intricate spreadsheets tracking these things. So we've leveled, and we are going out to bid on Roosevelt a year early to try and capitalize on the leveling costs, and we're going to bid in Roosevelt in October. And this estimate that we've got includes that October bid for Roosevelt, which we are crossing our fingers and hope it comes in favorably.
Thank
so
you.
Inflation has been taken into account.
Robert, would you talk to, would you mention the contingency fact that was in that bond at the time?
Yeah, we have built in about $3.5–4 million in contingency in those bids. So depending on the project, and we've ran into groundwater issues. That's why you have contingency bids and things like that that have helped chew into that. Another reason why, and I know I got the mic, this district is very frugal. The last 3 bond elections we've done without a rate increase, and it's been a good thing for taxpayers. We haven't increased the rates for construction, and we tried to do that. And one of the reasons why Roosevelt, we have an intricate system to prioritize our new builds, our rebuilds. And believe, as bad as Roosevelt is, as we've heard tonight, the schools that were priority above Roosevelt were worse. And those included the Marlon Hills, the West Weavers, the Walquists, you know, the Roy Jr., and those type of things. And so Roosevelt kept on getting bumped, and now it's their turn. Club Heights, the Club Heights was torn down. But that's why we did those things the way we did, is because we did not want to raise the tax rate, and because we're very conscious of the tax rate. That's why we're 13th out of 15.
Robert, would you also, though, as part of those bonds, so I've been around a long time, and we prioritize these buildings that need to be replaced at the same time have to absorb growth. Mm-hmm. And so we did Orchard Springs, and then we did Silver Ridge, and then we did North Ogden add-on. And in the past, we've done an addition to Roy High, we've done an addition to municipal. These schools, Fremont, they cannot be additioned to anymore without the stuff that you're talking about at Roosevelt catching up eventually. So we've had 15-year, 10-year, and 5-year plans on buildings. It's just we try to maintain the lowest impact on our citizens without a tax increase and still get some of those builds done. So when you say, why weren't we prudent and why hasn't that been rebuilt, we took the next one on the list and the next one on the list. And when you say, is it going to quit? We're educating kids. There's still more on that list when you have 49 buildings that need to be replaced eventually, that need to be done. So 66 years, I think they've done very well at getting what they could out of 66 years, and then try to push it up a year so that we can cut the cost on the building. We have no control over that.
And wasn't last year the first time sorry, I'm new to the board, so a lot of this is new for me and I'm still learning, but wasn't last year the first time we increased our maintenance budget in 10 years? So that is also a factor, that we had the same maintenance budget for what, 10 years before we were able to?
Yeah, we've taken, which is the air conditionings, the roofs, the parking lots. I mean, the buildings are still getting built. We did not increase maintenance when we add new schools. When we grow, we do not add staff. And so all these costs, when you look at what we brought on and still maintained a lean budget, and I'm just going to tell you 2 things. Please come to the meetings. And second of all, our budget is very transparent. You want to see our budget? You want to know where things are, Mr. Who was it? Mr. Miller? You know what I mean? That's the thought there on the school. We'd love to have built that thing, but that impact would have been a lot bigger a long time ago. But come and see our budgets. It's transparent. We will show you where those dollars are being. We want to be accountable for what we're doing with your monies. I have parents that live around the corner from me. My dad is 86, my mother is 85. And they are on fixed income. And you think this is easy for me to walk over and say hi when I know they're on fixed income? It's not easy. But somebody paid for my education at Roy High, and I was very successful. So I thank those folks who paid for me. Thank you.
Bruce, go ahead.
I just want to address just for a minute the bid process, because I think it's been we've been accused of taking just the high bid. I think Mr. Peterson, you kind of indicated that we've got the very best of the very best of the very best. You own a business, I think, and I think you understand bid processes. It sounds like from what I just understood. All those bid processes, I've been through that my whole life. That bid process was not a high bid. It wasn't, we take the high bid, the best. It was value-based, just as you would do with your own business. And so we did a lot of work preliminary to those bids. We value-based it on a scale and points, and we selected the best architect based on value. We selected the best contractor based on value. And so just to dispel that thought that we took the high bids, that's not the case. To dispel a little bit about we're building Taj Mahals, we're not. We went through numerous high schools throughout the whole state. We traveled and looked through the whole state. And we could have built buildings that you can see that Granite maybe is in trouble with, some of those buildings that are extremely lavish and extremely highly technical buildings. We didn't. We went through the value-based process through the bids with value engineering to determine where we were and what we could build, the best school we could build for the amount of money that we had. And so to dispel that, it's not just a high bid. We didn't just take the contract that had the highest bid and say that's who it's going to be. I serve on the Capital Improvement Committee, and I can tell you the hours that went in to determine. We interviewed every contractor that put a bid in. We interviewed every architect and design team. And so all of those were value-based, based on what they could provide and what they would bring to the table. And I think that's the one thing I would like to dispel, that wasn't the case in these schools.
Bruce, could I also just chime in on that? That we've done repeated builds that dropped our architectural fees. The Mountain View is the same plot plan as a Roy Jr., which drops us. Our elementaries are the same plans as the last 4, which drops us in cost, just so we could be frugal. And then the plan was set not only by the board, but the Capital Improvement Committee. We're not here to win you an award for this school. We want square windows and very practical type of applications where kids can learn. And that's what we have. So when Robert says we got the highest, no, we got the qualified people that we know will not walk off the job, will get the job done, because we ran into that at Silver Ridge, for those in North Ogden. So, or Orchard Springs, I'm sorry, Orchard Springs, which set us back a year, all right? That was not pretty when we have to answer to constituents. So I just want to make sure that they know we are repeating and lowering our costs. Is that not correct? Thank you.
Anyone else, board, that would like to make some comments? Okay, what I'm going to do here is, this is actually a two-part motion, so I'll ask for a motion to set the Weber County District tax rate. I'll put my glasses on so I get it right. First motion will be to set the Weber County District tax rate to 0.00413. The second motion I'll call for is to set the state and local tax rate to a 0.005585. Those are the two the presentation that Dr. Peterson made to us. So, board, I will call. I'd look for a motion to set the Weber County School District tax rate to 0.004130. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Bruce, is there a second?
Second.
Jan?
Can I just remind that that is not something we can do anything about? We are just approving it. Is that correct?
That is actually the second motion.
That's the
Oh, okay,
flip
that's
one.
the second. I'm
This
sorry.
is the Weber County School District
Okay,
tax rate.
okay.
The second one is the state and
Okay,
local.
thank you.
Okay, so we have a.
But I will second it.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on that? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Second motion, I'd call for a motion to set the state and local tax rate to 0.005585. Do I have a first on that?
I'll make that motion.
Jan?
That is the one that we are,
Yes.
is required of us to
Right.
set.
And Kelly second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. That concludes our Truth and Taxation hearing portion of our meeting tonight. Board, I will call for a motion to adjourn the Truth and Taxation.
So moved.
So moved, John. Second, Doug, thank you. Okay, now we will go to the back to our general board meeting, and we will go to some public comment for this. The public comment was written up for the approval of the revised policy 5300 school search and seizure. And we have Eddie Perkis that has signed up, please. Edie. Is it Edie?
It is Edie.
Sorry.
No worries. And I didn't realize this was for the search and seizure that you were talking about for
there
public
was a little
comment.
confusion, but that's okay.
I think
Okay.
you can comment on anything you want during
Yeah.
the public comment period.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
doesn't have to be.
Well, I'm going to
Please.
give you, my name is Edith Perkis.
Okay.
I'm a resident of Riverdale, Utah. We've been in Weber County since probably 1996 or 7. So we've been here for a little while. I'm going to tell you 3 stories. Well, at least 2. First story, family in Alabama. Just finished my bachelor's degree a few years previously. Husband and myself, poverty station, just nothing. Got a job offer, moved out here, struggling. Finally bought our very first home ever with 7 children in Riverdale for almost nothing. Old house, lath and plaster, even had knob and tube wiring that was not hooked up any longer. We have ourselves torn the house down to bare bones, put in insulation, new wiring, plumbing. 95% of that house was done by my husband's and my hands and by our labor. I put him through school to get his bachelor's degree in engineering. Now we're doing pretty good. I saw my property taxes go from $400-something in 2000 to over $1,900 last year. Here's what I find is inequitable, is that we have put all our own money and our slave labor, we don't hire out, we're do-it-yourselfers. I guarantee I do the paper, the painting, the floor refinishing. Both of us did the staining on the wood. We did the wall board ourselves, everything but stuff we couldn't do. So I find it is an exercise in approving mediocrity when taxes are levied on people's hard work and labor. And I wanted to comment on the schools. I love kids. I almost became a teacher myself when I went to school to work on a few courses in vocal pedagogy. I was there at an open house and talked with the Dean of Education. And I said, you know, I have a degree in mathematics. I thought it might be great to become a teacher. And she looked me up and down, and because I didn't look the part, she said, well, I would have to approve that. Now, story number 2. I went to choir, tabernacle choir, with 2 wonderful teachers in the system. And as far as taxes go, we were discussing, we were together 3-4 years, carpooling back and forth. They eventually retired. I retired in 2019. We were discussing the teacher raises and the tax raises for the school district. I said, oh, that's great. I bet you're going to be able to get some more things that you wanted. She says, oh, no. Oh, no. The one teacher said she had to have a piano donated, had to practically glue the wood together and do fundraisers to get the piano tuned because the administrator at the school said, oh, we don't want to invest in music programs. Oh,
thanks, Edie.
I would love to tell you more.
Sure, sure. And you know what? Please get a hold of one of us. We're here to listen to you. So if you have other things to discuss.
I work for a federal government now, and I could give you ways you could save money.
Well, we're open. So look and see who represents your area. It's on the school website, and I'll tell you who represents your area on the board here, and go ahead and get a hold of them and chat. I know this past couple months with things going, there's been a steady stream of people in and out of Superintendent Butter's office and Dr. Peterson's office, and so things can be arranged.
If I put my name on the list 3 times, would I get 9 minutes?
Well, I don't know.
What you can do though, what you can do though is call Dr. Peterson anytime and visit with him.
I will do that.
That's a promise. You can do that.
Edie, I'll give you my card after, and you can call me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's see. We only had Mrs. Perkis was the only one that signed up. Is there any others, Pam? Was there any others? Okay.
She's already spoke.
My name's Linda Sanchez again. I live in Weber County. And if you guys got together with Weber County, you guys were kind of surprised about that Transparent Utah website. It also goes into what, and maybe it does with your board as well, I don't know, what Weber County, their credit cards. There's a whole bunch of credit cards out. And it will actually line item what we do. We spend over, it's a whole salary on food. That could definitely be put towards the schools. So I may be getting together with the county and we're paying food costs for meetings and whatnot, but why are we paying food for people that make over $100,000? Why aren't we saying, hey, let's do a potluck and you bring this, you bring that? That's what we all normal citizens do because we can't afford it. But when I see getting together community, like growing, team building, axe throwing for $1,000, state liquor store, oh yeah, every month, you can look on it, I can show you exactly right where it's at, over $2,000 a month. I'd much rather put my money there, into the schools than having taxpayer money pay for that. So, I would love to, if there's any way that we can get you guys to get on board and I could show you where that's at and we can make that's called accountability as well, which unfortunately I work so I can't attend some of the county meetings, but I sure would love to spend my time and my money doing those kinds of things versus what kind of taxation and representation do we get for someone going to FARS and paying $4,000? Oh, it's endless. And when you look on there, there's over 150 credit cards, and they look like personal credit cards, like what you would do on your own personal credit card. So I would just, maybe that's a revenue situation that maybe we can get together and use some of those funds and find out, at least make them accountable for something so that they can support the people and their families a little more versus alcohol that is doing what to our children. So the first one is called Transparent Utah, and you can put any government agent or any government employee in there. It will show, like any officer, anything. It will show you if you've been different.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Linda, appreciate it. We can definitely look into some of those concerns that you had. Last item on our agenda tonight is the approval of a revised policy 5300 school search and seizure on a first reading by Heidi Alder, please.
Board President Whittison, Superintendent Butters, wanted to present the revisions to our board policy 5300, which governs administrators' searches of students when there is a reasonable suspicion that the student has contraband or illegal material at school. The primary changes that were made to this policy was an articulation of the practices that are already in place. Much of what is being done in school is patterned after the State Board of Education search and seizure model policy, but our former policy was very skeletal and didn't have a great deal of detail regarding the procedures to follow. The policy before you divides the types of searches that administrators often engage in, and I'll just walk through those briefly with you. Administrators occasionally need to search a student's personal property, like their backpacks, jackets. Sometimes they need to search lockers and school-owned property, searching vehicles, electronic devices. Sometimes, although on rare occasions, K-9 units are brought into the schools. When we do bring in K-9 units to the school, we've worked with the local law enforcement agencies to develop some protocol and guidelines for using K-9s in the school. And also, administrators have in the past used handheld wands or devices, primarily to search for vaping paraphernalia that students may be hiding on their person. This policy would prohibit certain types of searches, specifically pat-downs of administrators and wanding, unless the administrator believed, based on reasonable suspicion, that the student had a gun and law enforcement was not available to assist in that search. Under those circumstances only would an administrator be allowed to engage in a pat-down, which is a more invasive search, or wand, which certainly has the perception of being invasive and criminal in nature. The final change that was made to the policy was the requirement for administrators to document their searches. So we have clear records every time we engage in a search of a student that we can share with parents upon request. That documentation must include why the student was searched, what the basis for the search was, what was searched, who was present during the search, any contraband that was found, and any subsequent action taken. And that would be an education record that we would maintain in our PowerSchool student information system. And then, of course, parents would be notified and kept informed of any time their student was searched. With those changes, we submit policy 5300 to be approved by the board upon first reading.
Wonderful. Any questions for Heidi on that?
No questions. I just wanted to comment again, like in study session, Jan and I attended the most recent meeting crafting that policy, and I just wanted to give Heather and Heidi, they did a really great job. Our other administrators that have been working on it, it's super thorough, and I think it's a really good policy, so thank you.
Thank you. Janice, please.
And perhaps you already mentioned this includes everything related to vaping?
Yes, anytime an administrator is searching for any contraband, including a vaping device, which is not allowed in school, the administrator may search if the administrator has reasonable suspicion to believe that the student is keeping that contraband somewhere on their body, in their locker, on their person, in their bag.
I appreciate that. I had the opportunity to visit with my principals lately, and that is a huge focus and a concern. So,
for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janice. If there's no further discussion on policy 5300 board, I would look for a motion to approve revised policy 5300 school search and seizure on a first reading. John first.
I'll second.
Bruce second. Any yet further discussion? Sorry about that. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate it. Let's see, that concludes our general board meeting tonight. Because we haven't been here long enough, the board does have a need to go into a closed session following this meeting. The purpose of that closed session is a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation. So Board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting and go into convene a closed session. It is, it's coming up.
It's coming.
Yeah.
We gotta close the session.
John, can I have a second? Jan? Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Nope, roll call.
We're getting to that.
Good.
We're coming.
Any opposed? Robert, will you please conduct your roll call vote to move into a closed session?
Just answer yes or no when I state your name. Kelly Larson,
Yes.
Jana Lee Burrell,
Yes.
Bruce Jardine,
Yes.
Janice Christensen,
Yes.
Doug Hurst,
Yes.
John Ritchie,
Yes.
and Paul Woodison.
Yes.
Very good.
The general board meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.